Oh, we're live with all the technical difficulties. All right, if it's Tuesday, that probably means I'm having some sort of technical difficulty. The reason you see me outside is because I went ahead and I upgraded Windows, which then graciously completely shut down on me, making it virtually impossible for me to work on my actual desktop, which is no fun. But what is fun is that we have two wonderful guests tonight, and they are industry veterans who, for our benefit, travel to San Diego Comic-Con to report back and tell us what we need to know as professional working comic book creators. You've seen them many times on the show and in almost every panel imaginable. Welcome my neighbor from New York, Michael Dolce. Mike, welcome to the show.
How's it going, buddy? Your intro gets better every time I'm on the show.
Well, it's because you're on the show.
No, I mean like the graphics and everything. Unbelievable.
Oh, unbelievable. How's my audio?
You're the same. You're still buddy.
How's the audio? Does it sound okay?
Yeah, yeah, it works.
It works. All right. If we have to switch, I have another microphone with me, and
you know, put it this way: you come in crystal clear.
Am I? Okay, good. And you know what's also crystal clear? The raw talent and hardworkingness of the hardest working man in comics coming to you live, I believe, from Chicago. Welcome, Victor Dandridge Jr.
Hello.
Oh, you're Ohio, aren't you?
Yeah. No, I'm Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. Oh, shoot. Well,
I mean, you're still through the sea in the Midwest. You're fine.
Hold on a second.
No.
Live from Columbus, Ohio. Please welcome Victor Dandridge Jr.
I was going to say, don't let him off the hook, but then he did that, and that makes up for it.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
That makes up for it.
Pleasure to be here.
So, guys, exciting times. You attended the first big show.
We had dinner together.
We did.
You did?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We missed you, buddy. We missed you. We did.
I'm sure. I missed you guys. I'm grateful for you guys to join on the show tonight because I do feel like it is the first really big important show of the year, and it really sets the tone for what we're going to see for the rest of the year. So you guys are providing a great service. And so first of all, just how are you doing? How do you feel? Are you tired? Are you exhilarated? What are you feeling right now?
Victor, wait, hang on. How was the dinner? How was that belly dancer? That was crazy, right?
I think I left before the belly dancer got there.
Did you leave before the belly dancer?
I left.
Did you see the traveling Riddler saxophone player?
No, he was amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, he was amazing. His ability to play on the fly any contemporary upbeat song.
Yeah,
but I'm now upset that I left
at Comic-Con, buddy. That's what you get at San Diego Comic-Con.
Wow,
indeed.
Wowza.
Yeah. That makes sense. It makes sense.
All right, just for context, I just want to make sure everybody knows who you are, Mike. We go back many, many years from the Wizard days. Briefly, tell them what is Sire Studios, who are you, and what do you do?
Yeah, no. So I am a writer, artist, podcaster, and I think somewhat awesome dude. I do a lot of different things in the industry. I've been doing this for 20 plus years now, which is crazy. I've gone indie. I've done stuff at Image Comics, Zenescope, and currently working for a company out in LA called Rogue Matter, and also with a company called Dren Productions. Dren Productions has my book Sire back in stores, so you can get all that stuff. In fact, you can order it right now. Sire Revelations is in the most recent Diamond Previews, and I got more stuff coming out. I got 3 books coming out next year through Rogue Matter, and just keep going and keep trucking along.
Very good, Mike. And Victor, you are the self-proclaimed hardest working man in comics. You have a great shirt on tonight.
Thank you.
I've just known you from the books that you've given me, which I've read, and they are terrific. You're a fantastic writer. But just give us some context. Who are you and what do you do?
Sure. So I'm Victor Dandridge, self-promoting, self-publishing comic creator of Vantage and House Productions. And I've been in the comic book world as a reader for over 30 years. And as a comic creator, I started my imprint about 13 years ago and been doing it full time that entire time. I'm also known as I gotta get ready for this one. Are you ready? Phenomenological narratologist. Someone who teaches the philosophy of storytelling through my You Create Comics line, which is designed to bring comics into classrooms and be a bridge to help kids use a different form of learning through comics to do, general classic classroom fundamentals. I'm also all over the place with Comic Cons, moderating celebrity panels. In fact, I leave tomorrow to do GalaxyCon Raleigh and have a whole slate of panels that I'll be doing there. So gonna be crazy, gonna be a big deal. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah, Victor, I know
a mixologist, though, what you just described.
Phenomenological narratologist?
Yeah.
I was given that from professors that I work with at Illinois State University. I teach some classes virtually there as well.
I think it's phenomenal. I think you got to ride with that as long as you can.
Yeah. That's a wave.
Victor, yes, I should note, what is it? You create imprint?
You create comics. Yes.
You create comics, and you make these little digest size workbooks that help kids get started making their own comics. So you are a fellow educator.
Absolutely.
All right. So we've compiled some slides because of my technical difficulties. We didn't get to do a preamble together. So we'll go through them together. We won't dwell too long on any one photo, but you give me a reason why we're looking at these. By the way, Glenn commented, yeah, you could really see those bugs flying around. A belly dancer. I don't know, is a belly dancer.
Where we go? La Conde was the restaurant.
Yeah.
And it was the Rogue Matter dinner, and that there was a belly dancer, and she was phenomenal. She had fire coming out of her. It was crazy. Wow. And then there was also a roving Riddler guy dressed as Riddler, saxophone player.
Yeah.
Because it's Comic-Con.
Because
I think the belly dancer was like a staple of that restaurant, and the Riddler saxophone player was like a Comic-Con add-on.
Got you. Well played.
Well played, Mike. All right, so our post-con recap, Victor, we're starting with you. You are in multiple shirts, so I know that you panels. Talk to me about first the image that's on the left. What panel are you leading?
So that one, I was the moderator for Undeveloped. It's an upcoming show starring Thomas Ian Nicholas, Tom Arnold, and Mark Pellegrino, where it's kind of a mockumentary about the production studio, a low-level production studio called Bottom Dwellers. And I got to moderate that panel. A ton of folks. It was amazing. Big shout out to Brian Metcalf, the show creator, writer, and star. This one was a little complicated because with the strike going on, we had to wait for them to get a waiver from SAG, which didn't come through until the 11th hour on Friday when that panel was scheduled for Saturday evening. So it was a little tricky. We weren't sure if it was going to make it happen, but we did, and filled a brilliant ballroom 6A, which features, I think, over 1,000 seats. Wow. And by the end, it was full. So great time. Great time.
Well, I would have to imagine some of it is due to the stellar host who was leading it and getting people prepared to participate. Now, speaking of participate, you're sitting on a panel in this second photo with, I don't know who the people, I can't read their badges. Can you just give us some context?
Sure. So this was a part of the Comics Arts Conference, which is a scholarly side of Comic-Con. So for those that don't know, Comic-Con features so many different avenues and venues for you to participate, whether you're as a fan, a professional, creative teacher, what have you. And they have an entire track called the Comics Arts Conference that is geared towards educational material, lectures, things like that. And I was invited to be a part of this one by Dr. Vanessa Hintz, who is my newfound sister on the far left. She was leading this one and the discussion of bias and discrimination and how comics can be used to kind of thwart those things. We were also joined virtually by Dr. Shelley Clevenger, who is the chair of victim studies at Sam Houston University in just outside of Houston, Texas, and then Dr. Leandra Paris, who I think she teaches at a school in Baltimore area, Maryland for sure.
So slowly again. A person on the far left, Dr. what?
Vanessa Hintz.
Dr. Vanessa Hintz from where?
She is from the Milwaukee area. So she's a practicing psychologist and EDI professional.
And then the person to your immediate, the middle person in the middle.
The person in the middle is Dr. Leandra Paris, and she teaches at a college, I think, in Maryland.
Wowza.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And now, Victor, the nature of this panel, what was discussed?
So we talked about the idea of race and discrimination and how figures and concepts within comics can
real light topics.
Yeah, super light. This is, I mean, it came with popcorn. You know what I'm saying? Like we try to make things super breezy. No, it actually was a challenge to have an energetic conversation, knowing that we were going into heavy content. Part of the reason why I was involved was Dr. Clevenger actually used my book, The Samaritan, as part of her victim studies class. And so I got to come on as kind of the creative mind of the bunch to like dive deeper into my work that she uses to talk about victim studies and the idea of responsibility to your environment. So if there's as the story goes, there's a crime-ridden neighborhood, and each person that the titular hero encounters has a different level of responsibility to the world that they're in. So first person he saves is a child who should never be held accountable for the world that they're brought into, but each person kind of has a growing sense of responsibility and effort of change to their world. And so kind of talking about those ideas of discrimination in that regard, or race-based things from Wakanda Forever, all these different aspects of heavy context, but through the medium of comics we explored.
But so you were there as the creator, not necessarily as an educator, although you are an educator.
All of the above. Yeah,
okay.
All of the above. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely as an educator, but specifically tied into the presentation of my book.
Awesome. Okay. So now we're going to try to go back to this. Let's see. Can I do it? Oh, my goodness. You know, it's hard.
You got to let her run the show. That's the problem.
Well, once you started paying her, I couldn't afford her anymore.
It was tough.
Ooh, brutal.
All right, this one looks like the same shirt.
Yes.
Everybody is gazing toward the middle of the stage. What's happening in this panel?
This is probably one of the more famous moments from the panel. Tom Arnold is telling a Steven Seagal story, and awesome. There is no love lost between them. He had very choice words. In fact, Entertainment Weekly was present, and they ran a feature on the story that Tom told about Steven Seagal. And to the point where I guess Steven Seagal believes that Tom is paid to talk trash about him. So quite funny.
What was the nature of this panel? What was the purpose of everybody getting together?
This was the show Undeveloped, and it's going to be streaming, I believe, September 8th on Tubi, and another streaming service that we can't talk about because in support of the strike. But it's going to be streaming there. I want to say it's going to be a 6-episode miniseries. And again, very funny, very, very mockumentary style, very in the vein of The Office, of a small production company that's trying to stay open, and all the different things that has to happen behind the scenes in the world of Hollywood.
Sounds good. And Glenn Gattilla from the front row asked, "Does anyone have a good Steven Seagal story? Was it a good Steven Seagal story?"
No.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Not at all.
Fair enough. Okay, so we move on. I just sort of clustered together.
Yes.
In rapid fire from the left, you are
okay. So left to right. This is crazy. So that is Lisa McKnight. She is the current global head of marketing for Barbie, and I
Wow, I mean,
her.
what a weekend to see
Good
her,
week,
right?
good week to be
That's
there.
where we
Yeah.
were. We were literally at the movies watching Barbie, and she
I heard
had
it did all right.
It's actually a phenomenal movie. It is a phenomenal. This is no joke. I'm calling it. Like, listen, y'all, hear me right now. Barbie is this generation's Rocky Horror Picture. That's what it is. And
I like that.
when you see it, you'll go, oh, like the way that people can interact with Rocky Horror at the midnight shows and such. That's what I'm saying is going to happen with Barbie.
I just love the smile on the head of marketing right there.
Listen,
that says it all, doesn't it?
She was having a moment because she had a crew of people that were watching the movie with her, and when her name came up as the credits, they just roared, and just the celebration of her was amazing. And I had to find out who she was because I didn't know at first, because we're all just in a movie theater, and I'm like, you had to have something to do with this movie.
Was this an exclusive screening for you?
No, this was I did the Barbieheimer marathon. I totally went back to LA and watched Oppenheimer and then Barbie, and she was in the screening of Barbie that I went to, and I got a couple of minutes to chat with her. Definitely followed her on LinkedIn because I'm an opportunist, and you never know when something could pop. Like, you just don't. So taking a moment to celebrate that win with her was great. It was absolutely great.
All right, now in the middle photo,
this guy was a random cosplayer, but he's cosplaying as Kwame from Captain Planet, and it's such a rare find. Like, you don't see this character played very often, and Kwame definitely as a representational figure in superheroes and cartoons and media, things like that, stood out. So I had to take a picture with him because I just had to give him his props for that.
Sure.
He looked pretty happy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He was like, you recognize me? I'm like,
he's like, you get
absolutely. And last but not least, this guy is a dancer. He goes by Fiction. He was on So You Think You Can Dance years and years ago, very popular all over TikTok. And I saw him walking by, and I was like, look, I've been a fan for a long, long time. Can I please get a quick picture? And he's like, 1,000,000%. He's like, when you say long, long time, I was like, So You Think You Can Dance days. He's like, that's when I started. I'm like, that's how long I've been a fan, sir.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
You were having the most unique fan moments, I think, of anybody. And this is
absolutely.
You at the Malibu Daydream Experience. What's going on here, Victor?
So this was a Barbie-themed event, bar, fashion show. And this is one of the other things that I want to point out about San Diego is it's not just necessarily the con itself, it's the activations that you also have to take full advantage of experiencing. This was off-site, not at the con exactly, like quite a few blocks away. But people like truly embrace the opportunity to create experiences for fans. And this one was a total makeover of like this basement space for a Barbie dream house. They had a faux pool painted on the floor. You had a space where you could actually try on Barbie's clothes. They ended up doing like a fashion show where you had like a legit runway walk. They had drinks, themed drinks, pink popcorn that was delicious. Like, there's all these different things. And again, the point of it is to experience what you can. Right? Like, I'm not a Barbie guy. I have daughters I have a daughter that loves Barbie. But the reason why I wanted to see this is what is the experience that they're creating? Because how does that influence what I want to create when I have an opportunity like this? Seeing what types of things are possible is key, because that's what keeps us innovative.
That is, I love your perspective on this.
Thank you.
And I love the perspective of your hand, Mike, in this photo. Give me some context, because you did text me and say that was a real Detective 27.
Yeah. No, so this was actually at the Rogue Matter dinner, which was awesome. And the sponsor of the dinner is a gentleman from New York City who goes every year. He's investing in Rogue Matter, and he is an investor in just comic books that we all wish we could hold. And last year I got to hold an X-Men #1 from 1963. And
this beats
year,
that, though, right, Mike? I mean, this is the truest.
Yeah, I think it has to. I think it just has to, right? Detective Comics #27, right?
What is it, 39, 38?
No, it says number 27, right?
Yeah, that's from
No, 1939. Oh yeah, there it is.
1930. Yeah.
Yeah, so that beats the 60s. Yeah, first appearance of Batman,
I think it has
Victor?
to. I think it absolutely has to. And it's a 9.0 too.
Yeah, how does that happen? Like,
Well, it says
9.0?
restored. It says restored, so they must have pressed
that's
it,
true.
whitened the pages.
Fair game.
So it must have been, probably a 7 to start with.
Still.
Yeah.
And wait, we have a comment. That was so passionate. Went for the experience. There you go. And you probably, Victor, I think you've met Miriam. She's part of the comic book school community.
Okay.
I think if you
So
come
what
to any
I
of
would
our
sit there and
events,
tell you too is I gotta be jealous of Victor's pictures though, because all my pictures are just things that I saw. He made sure to like, take pictures of himself there. I don't do that though. That's an MO of me in general. Like,
I mean, I don't always do that. So this was me being cognitive of doing. I
don't know about that. I think you have a much greater share of photos with yourself in it. But that being said, I didn't need a picture of me with Detective Comics because that's my hand.
Mike, now, so this looks like a classy dinner. Like, how does somebody go to a dinner and go like, oh, let me whip out a $1 million comic? Is that what?
That's Comic-Con though.
Is
but that's Comic-Con, right? I mean,
so like in another place, they
Comic-Con.
Right, they pull up in a Bugatti and they've got like a Rolex.
No,
Comic-Con, you're
the
like,
guy
I've got
the
a
guy
slab.
who this. Yeah, no, he is your. It's actually his head behind the comic that you can kind of see. He looks,
and he's not trembling. He's not like I would be like, give me that back,
buddy. I'll give you context. Right, there was a table at this dinner of beautifully dressed young-ish ladies to our left who looked like they're going out a night in a town, and they looked out of place at this restaurant. Right, I think that's the best way to describe it. Now, in any other context, in any other like venue / even in San Diego a week later, we would look out of place.
Mm-hmm.
We looked in place. These beautifully dressed, young, attractive ladies looked out of place at this dinner.
I love how you said
that's
a week
Comic-Con.
later. Tonight we would be out of place there.
Correct.
Tonight.
Correct. Monday,
Right.
like the Monday after, even the Sunday night, we would look out of place.
All right, so Mike, the Detective 27. What were the reasons that you decided to snap photos of these particular booths? Because they must have made an impression.
I loved the fact that on the Marvel side of things, you had Andy Park is a comic book veteran, but he also, I guess, was hired to be part of the MCU, so he worked on the Marvels. But the crowd at the Marvel booth was huge. I know it doesn't show it on the McFarlane side of things, but the crowds on the floor were as crowded, if not more. And I would actually go, and Victor, maybe you would agree, I don't know. But my impression of the show floor in general was that without the actors, without being able to really peddle the celebrities, without being able to peddle the studios, I felt as if the floor has not been this busy in about, 6-7 years. I felt like everyone was on the show floor. To me, personally.
To a big degree, I think you're right, except for Saturday. Saturday felt incredibly light for a Saturday.
For a Saturday,
okay.
For
a Saturday, to me. Like last year, Saturday, even with Hall H being Hall H,
interesting.
Saturday, you can't move without touching people. Like that's just the way it is. And this time you could. In fact, I saw for the brief time that I was there Sunday morning, there were more people there Sunday morning than there were at Key Time Saturday. So I do think that it had an impact. Can I wax for a second about that? Because I have very strong feelings about this. I've seen a number of industry vets, people that I admire and look up to, saying things like Comic-Con belongs to comics again. And the problem that I have with this, and I have a sincere problem, is that we shouldn't be promoting the idea that our success relies on the absence of someone else. We need to be promoting the idea that we can be successful in whatever way we define, no matter who else is in the room, because there's always someone bigger. Like I'm a guy that I'll go to a show and I might have a smattering of fans that are absolutely there to see me. But if Todd McFarlane is there, without question, there's more people interested in seeing Todd than me. But that doesn't that doesn't preclude me from being successful in my own way, despite the fact that Todd is there. And I cannot stress enough to anyone watching that wants to get in this business, do not be of the business to say, because someone else is there, I don't think that I will win. I don't like that narrative. I think it is very detrimental to all of us, because there's always someone that could be considered bigger, and you still have to perform no matter what. You know, during
I'll give a parallel to you. I'll give a parallel to you, though. I actually love when studios are there. Do you know why? Because there are so many Comic-Cons now that the show floor, to me, having exhibited it all, I don't exhibit at San Diego because I just don't make money at San Diego. I mean, point blank. New York Comic-Con, make money. Go to New York Comic-Con. C2E2. I'll do smaller shows and I'll actually go to smaller shows and make more money at those shows than some of the bigger shows, right?
Yeah.
What I love about San Diego, and it's the only place I feel you can do this because of the weather, when studios are there, they rent out the whole area. It becomes like walking around in a theme park where you get so much free enjoyment that you ordinarily will not get at another Comic-Con. New York Comic-Con's trying to do it,
right?
But it's October. It's New York City. It's impossible. It's an experience. And to me, I feel as if San Diego is actually, believe it or not, I know it's kind of hard to get into sometimes in that sense of being on the show floor, but I feel like it's a gateway Comic-Con drug. Like if you go to a San Diego Comic-Con and you're not, look, I mean, all three of us are, I mean, lifelong industry people, lifelong comic book fans. If you get people that are just into the characters or want to know what a Comic-Con is, I want the studios there because the experience, look, it's a free experience too. I can walk down the street to the convention center and see a helicopter landed in the middle of an open field because Amazon bought that out to go plug Jack Reacher. Yep. I can walk through a life-size South Park replica because Comedy Central decided to promote South Park the next season at Comic-Con. There are experiences as just pop culture fans you can't get anywhere else. So I agree with you 100%, Victor. And then I also backed that up saying, why do we care if San Diego is back to the Comic-Con? We have 800 other Comic-Cons we can go to where comic books are king. Right. Does it have to, like, this is the only chance you get of that amalgam. And look, buddy, you and I are from the Wizard days. We don't have a Wizard anymore. We have the internet where everyone's famous and no one's famous. Back in the day, comic book creators were talent and they were famous. Unfortunately, in my experience, this is only my experience, the up-and-coming comic book fan are fans of the characters, or they're are fans of the art, or they're fans of, if they get into a niche in the internet that knows who J. Scott Campbell is, that knows who Todd McFarlane is, that knows, I mean, I'm watching YouTube videos of people describing the Image experience for the first time, and I'm thinking to myself, reading the comments, yeah, these people have no idea, and it almost becomes myth-like at this point, right? I was just watching one on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm like, man, I live that stuff. Well, but for someone, it's brand new. So you know what? To me, it's like, go out there and there you go. There's McFarlane, the McFarlane booth right there.
Yeah.
I do want to note, I feel like, and maybe you guys have seen it as well, there is something going on with McFarlane where I feel like reaching to 300 issues lit a jetpack under Todd McFarlane. There's more merch. He did the Batman Spawn crossover. He's doing the Batman action figures. He just announced 3 new Spawn-related series. There's just something clicked. And it just seems like McFarlane was like, I'm going to do more of what I love. And I'm a Spawn guy as well, Mike. So I would have, and a McFarlane fan for years and years. I'm just glad that he's not going quietly into, into retirement. It feels like this guy is red hot.
You could argue, and I gotta interrupt for 2 seconds. You could still hear con voice in my voice, by the way, where it cracks a little bit. I'm getting over it, but you could argue he's bigger than ever right now because he's mythological now. Yeah. Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane are like myths now. Yeah. Jim Lee, as the publisher of DC, I feel is in that status, but because he's like the face of DC, I almost feel like he's in a different like class, but not above or below, just a side class.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the amount of YouTube videos I've seen on like Rob Liefeld and Todd McFarlane now have like quadrupled in the last like 5-10 years. I think people are recognizing this stuff.
100%. And just a quick shout out. I don't know most of the Image guys, and I don't know Rob Liefeld. I only knew him in Legend, and I didn't have a good perspective on him because we worked at Wizard, so there was some sort of, you know, animosity or whatever. I didn't know the guy. I wouldn't know him at all.
Sure.
But I listened to his Robservations podcast, and this guy seems like the most authentic, genuine, nice guy. And I have to tell you,
that's what keeps him around, though.
Yeah,
he genuinely loves comics.
And for those of you who are listening who just heard me say it, it's called Robservations.
Mm-hmm.
It's a podcast. I think he does it once a week.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy he just puts on a great solo show. And again, he just seems like a super nice guy. And I was like, I didn't know him, but I've walked away going, I really like this guy. You know?
Rob is that guy. He's a personality. Yeah, he's a personality without question. And the thing about it is he's a personality that will not tolerate certain perspectives. And if you go back and look at the career, you almost have to appreciate that because he's remained true. Like the bad boy image of, I'm not going to take that. Forget you. Like that's Rob. And when he celebrates you, he'll celebrate you as authentically as possible. But if he feels like you're disrespectful to him, you'll catch that back. Sure.
He catches a lot of heat, obviously, because of his technical prowess. But I'll use a music analogy because I love music. Back in the 90s, when Green Day was coming of age, my best friend was a Rush fan. Okay, so anybody out there who knows the band Rush, probably one of the greatest technical threesomes you will ever see. And it's a great comparison, right? Because Green Day's a threesome, Rush is a threesome. Yep. Neil Peart is probably the greatest drummer known to man. Geddy Lee was singing while playing bass while also playing the synthesizer at the same time. Technically speaking, Rush is one of the greatest technical achievements. I'm a fan of Rush. I like a lot of their music. But there's something about Green Day that was just so accessible and so like energetic and so like, I don't know why. I know they're playing 3 chords, but man, their music's really good. And then you also kind of realize, like, wait a minute, I know they're playing 3 chords. Their songwriting is not as advanced, but they're really good musicians, actually. It's kind of crazy. And that's the way I look at Rob Liefeld. He had energy. His work just jumped off the page. When you were 12 years old, when I was 12 years old, I was like, holy crap. Yeah. X-Force was the first X book I ever bought because I saw the cable cover and I'm like, I don't know. I need to buy this book. I was a Spider-Man guy before that. And I was a Mutant Ninja Turtle guy before that. I need to buy this book because something about this jumps off. Yes, feet are a problem. Hands are a problem. I get it. There's pouches on top of pouches. I get it. There's shoulder pads. But something about it was great. And then you kind of realize Liefeld was a great inker. When he inked his own stuff, it jumped off the page more than when someone else, except McFarlane, would ink his own stuff.
It's true.
And something about his layouts, he was great at certain things. And it's funny because there's a renaissance going on with looking back.
Good job.
To where if I was there's Robservations. Look, Rob, put me in the show, Rob.
Yeah. Renaissance that's nice.
But no, seriously. So it's funny because as a sometime comic artist myself, Victor, you're an amazing artist. You don't do it enough, but
no,
you
not
are.
At all. Thank you.
Technically speaking, you would look at his work and go, well, I don't understand. Like, he doesn't draw feet. There's biceps. There's the famous Captain America picture that was so god awful. So you would never. There was a time where it was cool to diss Rob Liefeld, but then all things through time, and Buddy, to your point, he has just kind of stuck with his thing, and Victor, to your point, he has stuck to his guns. No pun intended. And he has come out on the other side now, to where you sit there. I think that's the benefit of age, right? And this is not to age ourselves here, but we've been in the industry long enough to see the cycle now to where someone like Rob Liefeld splashes onto the scene.
Mhm.
There's nothing like him. And then after a while, you can find all the shortcomings in what he does. And then all these other artists come in who are technically more sound than him, and some who are more dynamic. The J. Scott Campbells that came along, the Dale Keones that came along, I mean, even in the 2000s, we had the Michael Turners and things like
Right.
that, where you're like, wow, these guys are really amazing. But they all kind of fade away. Rob Liefeld's still here,
Mhm.
and you kind of look at his work from a different, like from a Hall of Famer who's just
Well, and I want to just pause you there.
yeah.
One of the things that is notable, Rob Liefeld was breaking in when he was, I guess, freshman college age,
Mhm.
right? This guy
Yeah.
basically grew up in public.
Yes.
And you noted Wizard. There was a cult of personality and celebrity
Sure.
around Wizard. And again, my perspective of knowing who Rob was through Wizard. And I would imagine that if you're 19 and making the money that he was making and getting your face on magazines and you were in a Levi's commercial,
He was on the Dennis Miller show.
he
Yeah.
was everywhere. I would imagine that could have an impact on the way you conduct
Sure.
yourself. And again, don't know him, only knew of him anecdotally. And we'll get back to, I'd like to get back to the San Diego thing and just leave a moment for Victor to comment. Is that listening to observations is a personal experience different than what we do here with video.
Sure.
You're alone typically. You've got these things in your ears, and there's something nice about listening to a guy who is as successful as Rob, wax rhapsodic about his passion for comics, and his historic knowledge is impressive. So, and I'm going to pause there before we go back.
And wait, just to add before Victor goes in, there's a new appreciation for what he did
Mhm.
at that age that I think that we're all kind of having, and an appreciation for his artwork and his art style that wasn't there 10, 20, 30 years ago that I think there is now. So
Right.
Victor,
No,
thoughts?
I think in terms of an analogy, I mean, your music analogy is perfect. And I think another one is ice cream. We didn't realize it then, but Rob is vanilla, chocolate, strawberry, and always has been. And while these other, artists are coming in, oh, I'm butter pecan pie, or I'm cherries jubilee. Those things are cool, but there are certain standards that, when you can do this, you will outsell all of those no matter what. And that's Rob Liefeld. And I was good in college for challenging people when I was like, who's the worst comic book artist of all time in your opinion? And almost unanimously, Rob Liefeld. And I go, how many more books does he have out than you? And they were sobering. You're like, and I'm like, remember that. Like, you consider that he's so bad, but he has way more books out than you. And if I show his work to any of you, you all know that it's his, versus if I look at any of yours, I have to ask. So just put that in context. That man is successful for a reason.
He certainly is. And what will keep us successful is that we can continue on with our episode. Thank you for the cap on that, Victor. I like it. Mike, what are we looking at in these two photos? I should note these are two separate photos kind of smashed together, but you can see the difference.
So the left one is more of a continuation. I just thought it was impressive that the show floor was so crowded, and for all the concerns that people had, that was there. And then on the outside too, I mean, look, so I went on a podcast a couple of weeks prior to San Diego, and they asked, they're like, well, the writer's strike and the actor's strike, what's that going to do? And I said, there's my con crack in my voice right now. And I said,
that was more of a Peter Brady voice crack.
Yeah, well, I know.
I know. That was Peter hitting
one day
puberty.
I'll be a boy.
Yeah.
One day I'll be a boy. I bought my plane ticket like 4 months ago, and I had to get my arrangements 4 months ago, and I got my badge 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Like, no one's not going to San Diego just because the writer's strike. So everything I sent you in terms of just the show floor and the outside was, yes, it was a little different. It was, because there just wasn't as many attractions. It wasn't a theme park this year, to where in previous years I feel like it was. I missed seeing Victor on the Hall H line sleeping.
Absolutely.
Hey Victor, did you get a hotel for the night? Nah, man, this is my hotel tonight. I got the Marvel panel tomorrow. Yeah.
All right,
I love
Michael.
it, dude. I ran into Victor, and this is not a knock in any way, shape, or form. That's one of the most brilliant things I've ever encountered. Was that you really wanted to go to the Marvel panel in Hall H,
Mhm.
and simultaneously took care of your sleeping arrangements all in one, because everything out there is one of the most expensive things ever. So you saved a hotel that night. But I'm
It's
like,
true.
Did
Victor,
you
what are
really
doing? He's
save
like,
a hotel that night, Victor?
Yeah,
Did you?
yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
It
You
was like a
slept on the-
Thursday or a Friday or
Yeah,
something
it was
like
a Friday.
whatever it was.
It was a Friday, so that
Victor,
way
I
I
have-
could
You were
Hall
working
H
that
on
weekend,
weekend
Saturday.
too.
I have my respect for you is skyrocketed in this.
Buddy, let me tell you, he was
30
working
seconds.
that weekend too, so he had other panels. But whatever the sequence was where he knew he didn't have a panel, that night he slept there.
Yeah.
Because he was waiting, he
for
wanted,
H.
and it was a big one too. I forget, it was 18, I think, 2018.
Yeah, it was 18.
So that, I mean, this is pre-COVID. This is like
Yeah.
back in the day. But yeah, I missed you not being waiting. I missed having a Hall H line. Now, one thing I did not like about San Diego, I don't know if Victor, if you experienced this,
What's up?
and buddy, I don't know how many times you've gone to San Diego, but you literally could not even walk outside the convention center without a badge.
That is true. That was weird. Like they were policing
That messed me up though too,
traffic,
because yes.
and that was weird.
So, buddy, just to give you some context, they're very tight on security there. You can't enter the convention center without a badge.
Mhm.
Of all the years where they didn't have Hall H and they didn't have anything, they decided that you couldn't even walk alongside the convention center. And mind you, I have friends in the Hilton. I got friends in the Marriott. I got friends in the Hyatt who I'm trying to see. I had my badge most of the day. Saturday, I went to go see a good friend of mine who works at IDW. And I stopped at my hotel. I changed. I showered. And I said, it's 5 o'clock. I don't need a badge. I'm not going back to the convention center.
Mm.
And they would not let me walk along the promenade to get
Wow.
to the Hilton.
Right.
And I had to walk all the way around. I mean, it was a real pain. So I don't understand why they did that this year. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, like I said, I took a lot of those photos from the inside just to kind of show, and the outside just to show everybody, look, it's still San Diego.
Nice.
Still gonna, nothing's different. Nothing's different.
All right, so
I'll
we
even
got-
double down on the security part. They were oddly weird because you had to key in, right? Scan a badge to go in and out. But
Mhm.
I personally don't like having the lanyards around my neck. I don't like it. So
Okay.
I'll tie it like around my belt loop and put it in my pocket. And if you ask for it, I'll pull it out, whatever. So as I'm going onto
No, they
the
were not
floor,
having that.
No, like as I was going onto the floor, ladies like, "Where's your badge?" I'm like, "Clearly, I have to have one because you had
Right.
checkpoints all the way up to this
Right.
point." But if you're listen, here it is. And she's like, "Oh, okay." But it was the idea of security being that tight that even after checking before you get up to the building itself, into the building, going onto the show floor, you ask me one more time where my badge is, as though all of a sudden I had magically gotten in through everybody else, but you're going to be the one that stops.
Yeah, it seems like it would be easier to get into the Pentagon sometimes than to get into some
Oh
of
my
these,
gosh.
Absolutely.
these conventions. Okay, so Mike, I think we got one more or two more. Yeah, one more.
Yeah, so this is important to show because, again, this is hey, look, it's still San Diego. This is a diner on the corner of the gas lamp as soon as you're getting in. And every year, this diner gets rented out by a studio. So what's funny about this, and the reason I pointed this one out too, is Paramount Plus took full advantage of the fact that there was little traction from studios. Remember, just the actors are on strike, just the writers. Studios could have decided to do things. And look, maybe Paramount Plus couldn't get out of this, right? Maybe this was locked in and they signed a contract and couldn't do it. But that being said, like, what an amazing opportunity to promote your stuff. And,
but
and they took full advantage of it.
Yeah, like you said, Mike, 4 months ago you bought your badge. That sign isn't weeks old.
Right.
You know what I mean? That was purchased, planned. We're talking at least 9 to 10 months of work.
Yes.
And listen, they owned Sheriff Voice. They disrupted your visual. The other buildings fade into the distance.
Correct.
You can see this, and it's a memorable visual. And what I think is great, and Victor, you would observe that with the installations, is it's a great time to just drop a visual message. Anybody who hasn't heard of Yellow Jackets now has heard of Yellow Jackets.
1,000,000%.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And,
and this diner too. I mean, they in years past they were the sci-fi diner. They were this or that, and it would they would take over the menu. These are things in like San Diego again that makes it such a unique experience. The fact that it's 75 and sunny year round, or like hazy in the morning, whatever. When I took the photo, doesn't matter. You can plan. You can 100% plan if you're an advertiser or your studio or whatever that you're going to have access to this. I mean, 400,000 people, in or without, and around. I mean, it's an amazing experience. I really hope everyone who is a fan of this stuff gets to go 1 year. It's crazy expensive. The Airbnbs are crazy. The hotels are crazy. The flight is expensive. I get it. Do it once. Do your bucket list. It's worth it. And even in an age where there were no actors and no writers, it still lives up to it.
All right, so guys, many of the people who are watching now and who will watch the replay are either hoping to break into comics, have broken in and want to go to the next level, or established creators like yourself who must continue to network. I'm going to go to you first, Victor. What was the networking and the professional interactions like for you this year?
Absolutely phenomenal, and with intent and purpose. I determined after last year's show that I had done San Diego as a fan enough. I needed to come through as a entrepreneur, as a creator, someone that was about the business. I had done the vacation stuff plenty, so now it was time to work, and I found plenty of panels to sit in on that had a lot of my peers and folks that I looked up to, even to the point where I went to a creator-owned panel and got shouted out by the creators on the panel and teased for not being a part of it. But I'm like, listen, I didn't know the people that put it on, but I'm glad that you recognize me. That's wonderful. But I'm also here to spotlight what you guys do with some purpose, because I have that insight as a creator myself. So when I ask you a question, it's going to be even bigger for you because I'm asking something pertinent that other people that don't create don't necessarily know. So creating those opportunities of networking, huge. I went to a workshop on pitching, and humbly, I will say I had the best pitch, but I went with the intent to learn if that was true. It's one of those things where hone the skill, sharpen the knife, see what I know, see what I don't know. And got some wonderful things out of it, even though arguably I had the best pitch. I did set up times to speak to some publishers. Though I self-publish, I know that getting my name attached to other things raises the tide. So I got a few minutes with C.B. Cebulski, editor-in-chief of Marvel, and talking about how to reach out to Ricky and Hernan and the talent crew for Marvel. And again, people, I need y'all to hear that. If you're interested in getting into the business, sometimes it's not just a matter of knowing another creator. Some companies, mainstream companies, have talent scouts that you have to go through and be on their radar before you can ever really legitimately get put onto an editor's radar or something like that. So find out the steps that you should go through in order to do so. And a lot of these guys, they'll tell you if you ask them. So that was a wonderful thing. I talked to two other publishers. First Comics was one. I talked to Ken Levin, who I've got a long-standing relationship with, and was like, hey, you know what? I'm interested in pitching something. And he's like, you know what? We've known you for a long time. Do it. And again, that's kind of the thing of showing face, being present. Sometimes when you show up and it's not about getting work, but also supporting a publisher or imprint or other creators, and people will see that you are a team player, that you're there, not of your own, growth, but just kind of support of comics in general, and they'll respond to that. Thank you for that. But yeah, and then I also pitched a loose pitch to another publisher. I'm not prepared to say who yet, but they really liked the soft pitch that I gave them, and I will be writing up a full-on pitch for them sooner rather than later, and hope to see something happen within 2024 that, again, will be about growing and building not just my name, but their presence again, and just kind of being in the business in a bigger, better way. So,
and I want to note that in the show notes to what Victor just said, we do have an episode, which I will link in the show notes, about what you should do and how you should do your follow-up after you've met people at an event like this. Mike, I'm going to go to you. Talk to me about your perspective as a pro. Oops, not that.
Well, I'll tell you just to piggyback on what Victor said, though, it's a two-pronged approach, right? It's the networking in the sense you're building the know, like, and trust curve. You know, you're accelerating that. People want to do business with people that know, like, and trust. And then it's also backing it up with work. You know, so the more work you can be like, hey, CB, good to meet you, blah, blah, blah. Here are my books. And then if you're to see him 6 months from now, oh, here's some new books I just did. Oh, here's some new books I just did. You know, and you're building on top of that. And because unless you're showing an art portfolio, you're not going to get work like right off the bat. Like you're just not. As a writer, it's really difficult. They got to know you're reliable. They got to know you can write. They got to know, you know, all this stuff. And it doesn't mean you can't. It just means it's more difficult to make that transition. So, so yeah, that's a two-pronged approach. As a pro for San Diego, buddy, what was the question?
So what was your perspective on what you set out to do as a professional, and how was the receptivity on the floor and the networking?
So it's interesting because this year and last year I've been with Rogue Matter, and so there's a relief in a sense, right? Is that I have books coming out. Like I have books slated for 2024. Rogue Matter's making a big splash in December at LA Comic-Con, and I'm excited about that. So there's there's less apprehension when you know you got stuff on the plate. Now that being said, to what Victor was saying, and then just what I piggybacked off that is, okay, I've got the roller coaster going, but eventually it stops. You got to press play and keep going. So it's laying foundation with other creators, other editors. I got to meet Heather Antos for the first time. We have she's internet famous, as Victor knows, and maybe Buddy does too. And but I finally got to meet her, and just, you know, it's just putting yourself on the radar, because now it's like, okay, I got these books coming out, and I want to be able to show other people now, hey, I got these books now. What do you think of this? If there's anything going on, good to see you. 3 months from now, go to another show, run into them. Hey, how's it going? Got some other stuff if you're looking for something, you know. So I think all in all, huge success. And just for me, getting away from the grind of the kids is well appreciated. Okay, I love my kids
without question.
They're 7 and 4. They run in circles around me.
We don't want your kids to be in therapy after they watch this. Okay. Marianne asks, where can we watch these interviews, Victor?
Let's see. I don't know if any of them were actually recorded. I think Underdeveloped would have been the only one that could have been, because I think they definitely shot us up on the screen. But I did do one interview that will be promoted and released with Victoria Bevins, courtesy of Dolce. Beverages with Bevins. We did that on the Blue Ranger.
Tubi.
Say what?
You'll be on Tubi.
Tubi, yeah. I was going to say it's going to be on Tubi soon. So that one was great. Victoria's amazing. She's absolutely hilarious. Yeah, she's awesome. Good people. So yeah, I don't know many other places where the content from San Diego will be shown, particularly this year, because a lot of times the only stuff that you really get to see is from Hall H. And so without that, I don't know. So that's a tricky one. But
right, there is a follow-up. Wait, what about outside the panel video?
Oh, I did have a video shot by my friend Jeff Carroll, who was about to go into another panel right after mine, and caught me again holding court with people, and it was amazing. The way he shot it was great. Like, Jeff, you need to shoot more videos just in general, because that was such a great one. But one of the things that I want to point out also for creators that are out there, be as innovative as possible with how you promote yourself. One of the things that I did this weekend, and I showed Dolce, I did these trading cards, right? These are my comics that I published.
Let me go full.
There we go.
Let me go big for
Victor. Big? Okay.
This one.
Do it.
All right. So these are my books that I made trading cards of, and there's a QR code on the back that takes you to a download of that issue. And for $50, I was able to produce 360 different pieces. I have 4 different books that I was promoting throughout the weekend, and my numbers, I gave away about 150 of them. And so that's 150 potential readers that I would have acquired at San Diego without having to buy a table or booth or anything like that. I literally went around wherever I had dinner and gave people stacks of these things just as a thank you. And there's ways for you to build your name and to market and innovate. This was a way that I was given to editors, like, hey, this is me. Here's some of my books. And I'm an innovator of how I'm doing books. It's not just a matter of me giving you work, but I'm also thinking, how do I distribute this product as well as make the content? So be as innovative as possible.
All right. Well, guys, we are just about out of time, and here's what we're going to do. I grabbed what I think is the best link for people to go find you. I hope this works. Mike, they find you at Sire Studios, and everything is linked and showcased there. Am I right?
Yep, absolutely.
Great. And what should they be looking for or ordering in the catalog or kickstarting with you, Mike?
Sire Revelations, collecting the miniseries. It's in Diamond right now, so you can go to your local comic book shop. You can order Sire Origins, and then a new Sire series is going to be hitting in November. So,
can they find all of that at the SireStudiosInc.com website?
Absolutely.
That is great. A single source for all things Michael Dolce, not to be confused with some athlete who goes by Mike Dolce, who took your name. Well, you're buff too. You're buff too.
Yeah.
And also buff is Victor Dandridge Jr., who I believe you can be found on the Twitter or what is now soon to be called the X platform. So we may have to change those links. Victor, is this a good place to find you?
That definitely works. You can also go to VantageInHouse.com. Which is my home website. And in terms of work coming out, we did a Kickstarter earlier in this year called The Big Bundle, where I was going to release 10 books throughout this year. And we just got the print run for our first batch of books that are coming out. So when I come home from GalaxyCon Raleigh next week, I'll be sending out the first books. But these are 2 new books that are from that run, Wonders of the Weird and Beyond and Inklings, which is a recap series. And we also have...
Hold them up again.
Oh, sure. So these are 2 of the books from our first run out of 4. So four of the 10 are already ready to go and will be shipped out starting next week. And production of the rest are happening. We're making great progress on these books. I'm super excited. I got to give a big shout out, though. Wonders of the Weird is a family sort of piece. It's a reimagining of the Fantastic Four. But the thing that I love the most is I actually have a short story in here with my 14-year-old daughter. She did the artwork. And, making it a family affair, like all the stuff that I've been able to do before has been great. But that takes it to a whole new level. So
Victor, is this something that you could come back and talk about in a future episode? That would be great, because I don't want to rush through that. There is one thing I'm going to be pulling out. We're going to do something called Readers Club. So starting next week, we will talk about something that is a pick. And next week, I will be talking in the next episode about Harleen, the graphic novel. This is the cover to issue 1. So for those of you who are regulars to the show, please go read Harleen, because I don't want to spoil it for you. Have either of you guys read Harleen yet?
I have. Yeah, that was really good.
I have not.
It is. I am going to say boldly, Victor, that it is the best Batman-related origin story since The Killing Joke.
Yes.
I think it stands up against The Killing Joke. Would you?
I would highly co-sign that. Highly co-sign. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who Facebook user is, but I am. I'm going to. I think it's Rob Anderson. So I think it's Rob Anderson on Facebook. But I want everybody to check out the graphic novel before next week's episode, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Thank you so much for joining us, putting us here as part of the event, even though we weren't there. We appreciate that you were our eyes and ears on the floor. Stay in the green room, where, if you've been on the show before, Mike will tell you there's usually Twizzlers and hot chocolate. Eat all you want, and I will do my closeout. So don't go away when we end, okay? Thanks again, guys, for joining us. All right. Well, I am more than a little bit jealous that I didn't get to attend San Diego. Mike had asked if I'd been there. I have not been there for 20 plus years, and it sure does make it feel like you want to go, doesn't it? I mean, and the networking that we experience when we do Creator Connections and we do our comic book school panels at New York Comic Con, of course, it's different. We're talking about a completely different audience. There's a bug here because I'm outside. It's a completely different vibe. The entire city of San Diego gets, thank you, Redheaded Ed. The entire city of San Diego gets behind it, from the airport all the way to the convention hall. At New York Comic Con, 2 blocks off of Comic Con, you see some cosplayers, but the rest of New York just is not at all paying attention. So I love that San Diego really gets behind the event. And I also want to say thank you guys for joining us week after week. I hope you enjoyed having these guests, and we'll see you again next Tuesday. Good night, everybody.